So the first thing we want to do is we're going to make a slip knot, which is very easy to do. Just twist the yarn and put a piece up in the middle, and there you go. You've got yourself a slip knot. Place your yarn inside of that and pull a little bit. You don't want to make it overly tight. And the reason why is because we're going to be working with it. As a beginner, you're probably going to want to make it fairly loose. We're going to cast on now. You put your right needle up between the knot and the other needle. Take your yarn that's going to the skein. Don't have it trapped in there. And wrap it around your needle from the back. Now, pull your needle through the loop underneath, and you're going to end up with a loop. I'll do that again for you. Go in between the needle and the knot, wrap around the needle, and pull it out like that. We're going to twist it slightly and put it over your left needle and pull it tight. You've now made 2 stitches on your needle. And using the top stitch, we're going to repeat what we just did. You're going to put your needle in between your left needle and the knot through the back. Pull your yarn around, and then underneath. Now do it again. So I want to show you that when you're pulling it underneath, you want to keep the yarn that you just pulled around close to your right needle, so you're not letting go of that, and put it around. So what you're going to want to do is continue doing this until you have as many stitches as you want on your left needle. You'll have 40 stitches. This is going to be approximately how wide your scarf's going to be. It's going to be actually a little wider than what it appears here, because once you start making it, it sort of expands a little bit. Each stitch is approximately 1 inch or ½ inch, depending on how tight you are with your stitches. All right, so now we're going to knit, which is going to be almost exactly like what you just did. We're going to insert our needle between the knot and the left needle. We're going to pull it around. You're going to pull your right needle underneath the yarn, and instead of pulling it out, we're going to release from the first needle and pull it to give it some tension. Again, don't make it tight because you're going to need to work with that later again. You've made your first knit stitch. We're going to repeat that again. Pull it around, and between the left needle and your yarn, and pull it out. And that's how you knit. Some things that can happen is, some things that may happen are, you could, especially with larger yarns, you can split this, and it's not the end of the world. It's just not a full strength stitch. And this is again why you don't want to make them extremely tight, because you need to be able to get that yarn needle in there. We're going to continue this all the way to the end, and that's called a row, one row. Then we're going to do that one more time. So we're going to have 2 rows of knit. Okay, I've gotten to my last stitch on row 1. Just wanted to show how we start row 2. We simply make our right needle our left needle. What you're going to want to make sure is that you're working with the yarn that connects to your skein. If you have a very long tail, it can be very, very easy to accidentally start using this, and then it ends. So just be careful. And again, we're just going to start knitting like we did before. All the way to the end. Okay, so now I got to the end of my second row, and I'm going to start a third row. And instead of knitting like we were, we're going to do a purl stitch. If you do all of the same type of stitch, what ends up happening is your work ends up curling, and we want to try to avoid that. The purl stitch is the second most used type of stitch in knitting. When you are knitting, you enter from the bottom through the top between your left needle and your knot. For a purl stitch, you want your knot in the, well, your yarn in the front, and you insert your needle from the top instead and in front of your work. And you take your yarn, pull it around as you did before, and through the top, and release it. That is a purl stitch. Now we're going to do the same again, through the top, around, and pull that through. We're going to do that through to the end of this row. I've completed my 1 purl row. I'm going to switch it over. And now we're just going to continue in knit. I'm hoping, I believe that this 1 purl row is going to prevent our scarves from being all curled up. Now we're just going to continue knitting using just the knit stitch for as long as you want your scarf to be. Now I'm going to do a few rows, but I'm not going to continue to do a full scarf. What I'm going to do after that is I'm going to show you how to cast off to complete your scarf. It's very, very simple, and you know all of the things that you need to know in order to do that. Now, I just want to show you in the video. So let me just continue this for a little bit and then I will be back. Okay, I made a few more rows, and this is what it should be looking like. It's very stretchy, as you can see. And there is this little lip here that will hopefully keep it from curling. That's your purl row. All right. So you're going to make your scarf as long as you want, probably around 5 feet long. It shouldn't take too long because all you're doing is a knit stitch. But of course it will take a few hours, especially maybe even longer as new knitters. But this is what you're going to do when it's time to cast off. It's very simple. You're going to knit 1 stitch. You're going to knit another stitch. Now is where it's different. We're going to pick up your first stitch that you did by putting your needle between the right needle and the knot. You're going to pick it up, keeping your second stitch on the needle. You're going to pull that first stitch up and over, and you're left with 1 stitch on the needle. And you're going to knit the next stitch and repeat. Push it in through between the knot and your needle. Pull it up and over, leaving that 1 stitch on there. And you're going to do that for all of your stitches. I will come back at the end to show you how to complete. I'm now down to my last 2 stitches. I'm going to do what I did before. Okay, and we are left with 1 stitch. This is where the scissors come in. We're simply going to snip this, and put that piece through your loop and pull. You now have a cast off edge. So hopefully yours is going to be a little bit longer than mine. This is not a very good scarf, but this is basically what it's going to end up looking like, except much, much longer.